Welcome, everyone. We are delighted to have you here with us today and really excited about Selethia Middleton sharing with you on having a virtual assistant. She has got a fabulous presentation ready. A few quick housekeeping items. Number one, all of you, yes, unfortunately, are in mute mode, and that is because of the number of people on the call. If you have a question during the presentation, please feel free to enter it into the question panel, and we will monitor that as we go throughout the conversation. In addition to that, several of you submitted questions ahead of time. Selethia is planning on answering those as well. So we're excited about the level of content you'll have. I am also already getting emails asking me about access to the information later. And yes, it will be available later. What's going to happen is we will load the recording of today's presentation on the YouTube channel. And I will send all of you a link to the presentation on YouTube so you'll have it available. To give you some background on Selethia, she shared her bio with me, and it's really a fun one. So I'm going to go ahead and read it to you. Selethia Middleton wants to live in a world where people meet and stay connected organically because they want to. Gotta love that. She said she loves hearing stories of why people are endeavoring on the journey of business ownership and entrepreneurial paths. She believes people inherently want to help each other, and that is why she is here. She is one of those people. As a project manager and business relationship specialist, she holds a Bachelor of Arts in Corporate Communications, a Master of Arts in Procurement and Acquisition Management, and a Master's of Business Administration. She held the designation of Global Career Development Facilitator, so she is aware of the vigorous undertakings of becoming a coach and the hard work that is required to keep the designation. When she is not country hopping with her two little girls to places like the U.S., Singapore, Jamaica, Japan, Bahamas, and South Korea, you can find her testing software, apps, plugins, and add-ons, and eating banana pudding while watching endless rewinds of The Color Purple. How fun is that? Her next project, Virtual Match Made in Heaven coaching program, will be available in, actually I'm seeing September, so anticipating that's out there. All right, I am going to go ahead and turn the presentation over to Selethia. And thank you so much, Selethia, for being here. Everyone, you're going to see a quick switch of screens so that Selethia's comes up. And now she's in charge. Welcome, Selethia, and thank you.
Oh, thank you so much, Kathy, for the wonderful introduction. I am very excited to be providing you all with this presentation on virtual assistants. Like Kathy said, if you have any questions, I told her she can interrupt me whenever she feels like it so that we'll be able to answer your questions as we go along versus waiting until the end. So let's go ahead and get started. Virtual assistants for hire is strategically using another person's talents and skills to create leverage in your business. That is the reason you would hire a virtual assistant, is because you want to do the things that you love to do and not the stuff that you don't want to do. So here's what you'll learn in this presentation. How to become more productive with your time and to be mindful of other people's time. How to make more money by utilizing smart business investing early on and thereby cutting costs in the long run. How to unleash your creative beast. And I know it's in you all, and this will help you focus on your passion by hiring a virtual assistant. Like I mentioned just a few seconds ago, you'll be able to focus on your business and the reason why you started the business in the first place. And how to develop a lifestyle business that actually works for you and not against you. So let's get started. What is a virtual assistant? You see VA in parentheses because throughout the presentation I may just refer to a virtual assistant as a VA. A VA is a person that works from their location to carry out the requests of business owners and entrepreneurs. A VA can be niched, being specialized in certain areas such as web design, social media strategy, copywriting, ghostwriting, editing, or be a WordPress guru. The person doesn't have to be a general VA who does office admin work, because that's usually, when you think of virtual assistant, you think of a admin type of work. That they also do that, but they can also be very specialized in one of those areas I just mentioned. You have to remember a VA is not your employee. So as long as you start your relationship understanding that the virtual assistant is not your employee, then that's the start of a great relationship. That's so you don't have what I would call a lover's quarrel during the middle of an important project. You have to remember that that VA is a contractor. So you can't treat them like you would someone in the corporate world. Who can be a VA? You have the side hustler. That's a person who's using their corporate skill set while building a business of a different entity. That means they have skills that they have learned and they're keeping their job, but they want to try something different. So that's the side hustler. They're trying to see if they can become a WordPress tech person, or if they could get into the world of copywriting or ghostwriting, all the while they're still maintaining a full-time job. Then you have the startup VA. That's doing many VA jobs until that person can hone in on what they're passionate about and what they're talented in and get paid for it. So those are the VAs that are just starting their business. They'll take a lot of different jobs until they figure out exactly what they like doing. They may start off doing just general VA work, but then realize, you know what, I just like to do writing, I just like to write blogs. So then eventually they will start focusing on just writing blogs. Then you have the business owner. They usually work hourly, trading time for dollars. It's difficult to keep up. They become drained, and much like working a 9-to-5, except they're home. And that can also go for the small business owner as well, and that would be one reason you would be hiring a VA, is because you're not doing what you love to do and you're finding yourself drained. You're finding out that you're running the business more than you are living your ideal lifestyle. Then you have the entrepreneur. They develop unique packages specific to their skills and leverages time, and in the end usually will end up making more money because they have a certain skill set that they have developed a package for and that they're marketing, and so in the end they're going to end up making more money because the person, they're selling their packages versus selling their time. Productivity plus profitability equal a lifestyle business. This is the reason you're here. So now that you understand what a VA is and what she can do for you, let's get down to the nitty-gritty of it all.
And Selethia, before you continue, I had a great question come in, and that is, how do you separate employee from a contractor?
An employee you pay taxes for. You can tell them what to do. You're writing their performance eval. You have direct control over an employee, whereas a contractor, you tell them what you want and it's up to them to get it for you. It would be no different than hiring someone, a plumber. Hey, my toilet is clogged, I need you to fix it. You can't tell them how to fix the toilet. You rely on their expertise and their know-how to go in there and fix it and solve your problem. Whereas employee, you would be like, okay, I need you to come in here and do this and do that and do this, and I'm going to be watching you do this and do that. You know, so you have to separate. A contractor, you pay them, they're responsible for their own taxes, insurance, and things like that, whereas an employee, you know, you're responsible for taxes and insurance and all the other liabilities that go with hiring a person.
Awesome, awesome. And I love that part of your answer where you tell them what you want and they figure out how to do it. So excellent. Good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And in order to get your lifestyle business, it's going to help you. You're going to improve your creativity, increase your cash flow, develop time management skills, and use the tools to hire a VA. Apply the lessons and then create your own lifestyle rituals to enjoy your life to the fullest. Developing your profile and why you need one. It is ideal for you to have tools in place before choosing your VA. And I say that because ideally you want to know what you can organize, systemize, and tasks that you want to keep and tasks that you want to alleviate altogether or hand off to a VA before you start the hiring process. So basically, you think you need a VA, you feel like you need a VA. Well, take time to really think about what you're going to hire that VA for. And so then you'll know which direction you need to go when you start the hiring process of the VA. If you want the VA to do admin work or if you want the VA to do your social media, start out with a plan. And if you don't have any clue, I can help you with that, or you can find a VA and say, okay, I don't know what I want. You know, some VAs specialize in helping business owners, you know, get their stuff together and so that they can have a streamlined business. You want to develop your profile so you'll know what type of entrepreneur or business owner you are. Basically, are you a micromanager? Are you a free spirit? Do you like organization? Do you, it is what it is, everything in the world is lovely and you just go at your own flow. So it's like, what type of personality do you have? What will you put up with? Understand your skills, talents, strengths, and weaknesses so you know what to skip on and what to pay top dollar for. Knowing who you are and letting the VA know that up front will also let the VA decide if you're someone they want to work with. Please remember, they're concerned about who they work with as well as you're concerned about who you hire to help you with your business. It's sort of like dating. You want to put your best foot forward, but you also want to be authentic. Don't show up to the meeting being someone you're not. Because if you start out, oh, whatever you want to do is fine, I don't care how you do it, and then halfway through the relationship, well, I need you to do it this way, I need you to do it that way. Well, it doesn't sit well for for VAs, and it's like, okay, so then we have to try to get back on track. So if you are being yourself during the first meeting, each of you will be able to get a feel of if this is something that will work. So I just say show up yourself and not send a representative. VA versus VA, how one differs from the other. Price. You have basic or premium services. How much does the VA cost and when to choose basic or premium services? So then again, you have to think about what you need. Do you need someone to edit your blogs, or do you need someone to write them for you? Editing might be a little bit cheaper than someone writing a blog for you, ghostwriting for you. Do you need someone to create your website, or do you need someone to maintain it? Creating website is a premium service. Maintaining it based on what you have can float between a basic or a premium service. And this goes back to the idea of knowing exactly what you want when you start talking to your virtual assistant. I'll use myself as
this is a great
yes.
to give you one of the questions that came in ahead of time, and I actually have someone else asking it now as well. They're asking about the cost for a VA.
Okay. And I will say this, the cost, I know the typical answer will be, oh, it varies, which is true. But think about the startup VA or that side hustler that I spoke about earlier. Their prices may be a little bit cheaper, maybe the $10 to $15 range, than someone who has been in the business for a while or who has specialized their services could be from $35 to $50 an hour. So it really does vary, and it depends on what your budget is. You have to decide what your budget is. How much do you want to spend? Do you want and I'll talk about that in a second. Do you want a package, or do you just need them to do something for one time and then it really doesn't matter, you know, how much it costs? So it's all in your budget. I like to say that there's a VA for every budget, but VAs are not budget VAs. So you can find someone to work within your budget. And I'll just use myself as an example. I like to, excuse me, I like to think of myself as a great writer. I have great ideas, I can get them on paper, and that's where the magic stops for me. I need someone to edit for me, but keep it in my voice. So I can write, and so then I would hire someone to do the editing for me, because that's not something I'm strong at. So that's, again, it comes along with you learning your strengths and weaknesses. So sometimes I'll just do a speaking blog entry, so therefore I don't have to worry about editing or anything like that, and I find that's easier for me. So that's when you start figuring out, hey, this might work better for me, or this doesn't work for me well.
Awesome, thank you.
You're welcome. And then, so we have the hourly hire or package hire. Deciding to hire by the hour or purchasing packages. I like to say hourly is for when you can't decide on the time required or when it's a simple task. And that's when you'll play around with, okay, well, I can afford $15 an hour, or I can afford $20 an hour. And if you know you can't afford $30 an hour, then you want to be upfront with that virtual assistant who is charging that price. Just like, well, you know, I can't afford it. They'll appreciate your honesty versus you, you know, keep going along with the process when you know from the beginning that $30 is too much, an hourly rate. However, some VAs will create smaller packages to suit your needs versus charging you hourly or charging you for one of their larger packages. For example, say you need blog editing, and she may charge you $50 for 3 blogs, or the next person may charge you 50 cents per word that she has to review. So it truly does vary from VA to VA, and that's just part of getting in the VA culture and trying to decide what works for you. There are VAs that can help you. I can help you. So it's just a whole array of things that can happen in the VA world as far as packages go. And some offer monthly packages based on the services you need or the number of hours you need each month. And it could be a discounted hourly rate. So if she normally charges, say, $30 an hour, and then her packages start at start at 10 hours to 10 hours a month, then she may only be charging you $25 an hour because you decided that you needed 10 hours a month, and you're going to pay $25 an hour versus the $30 an hour because you're not sure how much time you're going to need. So there are benefits to hiring packages for hour, but you have to know that you're going to use that time, because also there may be a time commitment, like a 3-month commitment. And I'll use myself as an example again. I hired a VA, but I've worked with her since 2005, 2006, and it was locked in 10 hours per month for 3 months. And I said, okay, because, you know, I'm thinking, oh, I can do 10 hours. I got plenty of stuff for her to do, and this is worth it. Okay, so month one rolls around. It's like, oh, did I give you 10 hours? No, you still have 7 hours left. Oh, but I didn't use all my time, but in the end, I still have to pay her because I agreed to a 3-month contract at 10 hours per month at the rate, at her rate. So you want to be cautious about getting into packages that require a time commitment of 3 months if you are not ready at this point to give over 10 hours of work each month. The interviewing and hiring process. Okay. When you're looking for a VA, you want to take your time. You want to have questions you must ask, and if the conversation is going well, then ask the questions you would like to ask. If your budget is the most important to you and can make or break you, then put that out there up front. You may or may not get the response you're looking for. Some VAs negotiate on their rates, some don't. If you know the VA charges $20 an hour and you can only afford $15 an hour, then you may not want to contact that VA. Or if you do contact them, lead with, hey, I know you charge $20 an hour, but can you do XYZ for $15 an hour? Worst they can say is no. You've heard that word before. It's not a new word. You just move on to the next VA. Or you may get a response of, okay, I can honor that rate for the first 3 hours, but after that I go back to my $20 an hour rate and I need a 10-hour commitment. So while they accepted your $15 per hour proposal, they want to get back to their regular rate. So that $15 an hour is just introductory, and you know, hey, okay, I would like to work with you, so I'm willing to do that for the first 3 hours, but I really need to get back to my $20 an hour rate. And when talking to the VA, you want to be prepared. If you aren't, then there is no harm in saying, let me think about it and I will call you back. The harm comes in when you don't call back. So be mindful and respectful. Like I mentioned in the way beginning, being respectful of other people's time. The VA will appreciate, will appreciate it more if you call them back with a "so sorry" than a no call at all, because then the VA is hanging in limbo wondering, hey, I wonder if such and such is still interested. They said they were going to call back. Oh, do I call them? Do I email them? So they're put in a bind of, how do I reach back out to this person when they said they were going to call me back or email me back? So just take the little, if you know you aren't going to hire the person, then just send the email, oh, I found someone else, or I don't need this particular service at this time. And that will go a long way, because then you'll remember, oh, well, you know what, I had someone who could do this for me, let me reach back out to her. And then you'll be on good footing. But if you leave someone hanging, then you know that's not fair to them. So just think about how you would feel if someone says, hey, I'll call you back or I'll email you back, and they never do. So just be mindful of that whenever you tell a VA, I'll get back with you. Also note that most VAs don't have resumes. A lot of VAs get that question, hey, can you send me your resume? They don't have resumes. They may have a portfolio, or they may have a profile on LinkedIn, or they may send you to their website, because they're not, a resume kind of gives that employee-employer relationship image. And so the virtual assistant is shaking that image and saying, hey, I don't have a resume, but please feel free to look at my LinkedIn profile, and you can see some of the things that I've done there, and read my bio on my website, or look at my portfolio and things like that, versus asking for a resume. I just know that in the industry that's kind of like, oh, why are people asking me for a resume? They must be looking for an employee. So if you can avoid asking for a resume, then all will be well. Then we have the test task. Give them a test task to see how they perform and follow instructions. If you're thinking about hiring someone for editing and you have it down to 3, ask them, hey, can I give you a test? Now, be willing to pay for it if you're testing someone on their skills. Just be mindful, some may not want to do it for free, so you may want to set aside a little bit of money once you get down to those 3 people to see who you really want to hire, and then evaluate the results. Which one kept your voice? How was the turnaround time? Were they responsive? Did they go above and beyond, your requests? Granted, there are emergency situations or times when you just want to hand off the task and not be worried with hiring and finding a VA. So then you would find someone to project manage for you. You want to not be worried about it. You want to give it to somebody and let them handle it. That can definitely work in your favor as well. But I want to make mention of something. When I said give them a test task to see how they perform and follow instructions, I use follow instructions loosely because the VA is not your employee. And I hit on this a little bit earlier. Most instances when you work with a VA, you don't go through A, B, C, D, and E. You can just go from A to E and let the VA advise you how they will get from A to E. Again, this plays into your style and the style of the VA. If you're a micromanager and have to give all of the steps, make sure your VA is the one that doesn't mind receiving those steps from you. If you have a VA that likes to get it from A to E on their own, you two will struggle in your relationship. So that's why it's important up front to know your strengths, weaknesses, and how you manage so that you can work well with your VA. And if your VA can handle you micromanaging them, then y'all will have a great relationship. But that's something that you all need to discuss up front. The VA for you. once you have decided on the VA, make sure you read the contract and or business policies to make sure you can live with the terms and conditions, because in their contract they're going to have their turnaround times. They're going to have their out clause, like you may have to give 30 days notice if you're wanting to terminate services with them. If you can't live with 30 days, then you might need to ask them, hey, can we change that? So definitely read the contract, and if there's something in there that you're not comfortable with, then definitely bring it up to the VA, because they're going to enforce their contract. If you miss a payment and there's a late fee for missing payments, they're going to enforce that. And so you don't want to be like, oh, I'm sorry, this, and, coming up with all these excuses. You would just have to pay the late fee, have integrity once you sign that contract. It's like signing any other contract. So, and they're relying on your money to do what it is they have to do for their business or themselves. So whenever you're late, you're making them late for something that they're relying on. So just think about it that way. It's just a mutual respect and understanding.
Selethia, that sets up actually one of the questions that came in, how to create contracts and then set amounts for specific projects.
Okay. The VA will normally have a standard contract, and after speaking with their the potential client, then they will craft that contract, or make some revisions or edits based on the conversation. It should say how long the arrangement is for, how much is to be paid, and how the arrangement can be stopped. Those are the turnaround times of the project. If that's not in their contract, then that should be in their business policies. And the contract could either be for, if it's just one task, you could have a contract for one task to complete the website design for $500. Payment is due by this date, and the rest is due by that date, and the project will be completed by that date. It can be as simple as that, or it can be have all the arbitration clauses and things like that, who to contact if you have a dispute, where to mail it. And so it depends on the virtual assistant that you're working with, because you will, as the client, you will be signing the virtual assistant's contract. Okay. So everything that goes in that contract should be agreed upon before it is in the contract, either by email or by telephone. So when you get the contract, it shouldn't be any surprises there.
Awesome. Thank you.
Great. And have some bonus notes. What to do if you want more. You've hired your VA, but now you're like, oh man, I love working with her. She does everything I need her to do. That's in the contract, of course. So now you want more. You want this person to do more because you trust them with your business now. So once you're clear about what you want from the VA, and you want extras from the one you've already hired, renegotiate. Don't just assume that she will do what you want just because you're paying her for a different job. So be courteous of her time. Just ask. You may have to renegotiate your contract or set up a whole new contract based on the new services that you desire. So don't try to slip in anything, for the VA to do that is not covered by the contract. Allow them to outsource. You like working with this virtual assistant, but now you need something that is not in their skill set. Do you want to go and find another VA, or do you want to let this person find someone that can handle that particular requirement for you? It may make both of your lives easier, and you want to continue working with that VA that you've already developed a groove with. So allow them to outsource, especially if you don't have time to try to find another VA and groom them and bring them in. You know, that the VA, allowing them to outsource, they have their ears to the ground and can probably find another VA to fulfill your requirements and keep it seamless, so you won't even know that another VA did it. Bonus notes. Let's continue communication. You don't want to communicate just when you need something. Remember, you're building a relationship with your VA, or any person for that matter. It is best to be crystal clear about your wants, needs, and expectations. In addition, know that the VA also has wants, needs, and expectations. You're creating a partnership, a team, a business family. So you want to keep the lines of communication open. And it's okay to be nice. You are entrusting the VA to handle certain aspects of your business that can be very private, time-consuming, and sometimes overwhelming when deadlines have to be met. So just send an email saying, "Hi, I'm just checking on you," and I'm sure they will appreciate it, and it's just because, and go the extra mile for you. So it's okay to be nice to your virtual assistant. You don't have to be a driver and a pounder. It's like, get it done, get it done, get it done, because all that does, like any other relationship, is just called, you know, for shutdown. And you don't want that to happen with your virtual assistant. Next, we have boundaries. Call this the follow-up nag. Don't follow up 10 minutes after you request an action. Work with your VA from the very beginning to determine their turnaround times for actions you request. I am sure that they will let you know. And to avoid delays, make sure you ask for items before you need them, so you're not hanging on pins and needles. And I always ask when I'm looking to outsource something, hire a VA, "Hey, what's your turnaround time?" "Oh, I can get it back to you in 2 days." If 2 days is not acceptable, then I'll say, "Oh, I really need it sooner than that." And so the VA is like, "Oh, no, well, I can't," or, "Oh, okay, I can work you in," because remember, they have a schedule that they're keeping, and that you're not their only client. So that's why you have to be respectful of their time. If they have a turnaround time, then it can either work for you or it doesn't work for you. But just be mindful that they have other clients that they're trying to, that they're working with as well, and it's not just your project. So be cautious of the follow-up nag. Then you have rush jobs. Please make sure you understand the cost associated with urgent requests, and this should be covered in their contract and business policies as well. Like if you need something done over the weekend, if you need something done at night, just be mindful there are costs associated with it, and it should be written in the contract as well. So if you're reviewing a contract and it doesn't mention anything about rush jobs or emergency requests or things like that, then ask the VA about it. Ask them about it, and they should be able to tell you, or I charge an extra $10 an hour if it's over the weekend, or something to that effect, because you want to get it in writing for your protection and for their protection. It just helps to solve any problems before they arise. After-hour calls. Remember, they have lives too. And again, understand the cost requirement for the evasion. Read your contract. The VA is not there for your beck and call. Again, separating employee from contractor. And you have to please remember and respect the VA's boundaries and their contract terms and conditions because you signed it. So that's one thing. You know, I've spoken a whole lot about their contract because that is very important, because that is the enforcement that they have to get paid, and that's the enforcement you have to get what you're paying for and to get it in the time that was agreed upon. And so the contract is very important. If you don't sign the contract, then, you know, both of y'all, the VA and the client, it's at their own risk. Have I had VAs where I didn't have to sign a contract? Yes, but it was a simple job, and, you know, I paid up front. So, you know, it wasn't a big deal to sign a contract. But when you're looking at time commitments and tedious projects or long-term projects or a lot of different things that need to be done, then it's best to sign a contract. Do we have any other questions?
So what I'm getting there is, and I was going to hold on to it, they're asking about finding a reliable virtual assistant. So I think what's happening is you're sharing all these ideas about that relationship. So how do they find that one?
Wow, they're all over there, you know, and I was going to mention it at the end. You know, I have a Facebook group, and I have a lot of virtual assistants in that group, and most of them I have worked with. So when you're trying to find a virtual assistant, you can definitely ask for their recommendations. People, you can ask for referrals, I mean, or people they've worked with before, so you can get honest feedback. And I believe that you can tell when you're speaking with someone how genuine they are, and that could just be the frou-frou side of me, I don't know, but you really won't know until you start working with that person, and that's why you may want to be a little cautious about going into a long-term contract right off the bat, because you do want to make sure this is someone you can work with, or you may just want to give that person, you know, a few jobs, you know, small things in the beginning, so you can start to build up that trust with them. You know,
Sounds like it goes back to the idea of a test project.
Mm-hmm. Yes, definitely. Because if you give someone to edit your blog, and I use that one all the time because that's the one that comes up to mind really easy for me, and you get it back and it doesn't sound like anything you wrote, then you know you might have a problem with that person. But if you get back one and all they did was put the comma and the semicolons, and you know, and it still sounds like something you would write, then that person might be the one you want to work with, because it right there they understand your voice and they're not trying to change what you're trying to say. So it's just, yeah, I agree. It goes back to that test project, having the conversation with them. You know, most VAs offer a free consultation. You know, just chat with them, you know, 30 minutes, and get a feel for, okay, so what do you normally do? What are you good at? And then you can, you know, take notes. Oh, she's really good at social media. She can post to Facebook, Twitter, and all those accounts at one time, you know, and then if that's something you need, then you may go back to that person. But if it's not something you need, then you keep moving on. But remember that person and how you felt when you had that conversation with that person. Don't be afraid to take notes. You don't want to sound like an interrogator, but you know, that's how you build relationships, by asking questions and getting to know the person a little bit.
Good. Good.
So, Kathy gave you my bio, and thank you so much for that. So I do believe in relationships. When you have something in common with another, so I try to find that something between the virtual assistant and the client, so that will allow them to work well with each other. And I like helping people, and it comes from a good place. When you're helping someone and it comes from a good place, then you feel much better about it. I believe all the relationships that I have are authentic and organic, and so that's the relationship you want to have with your virtual assistant. Like I said, I have one virtual assistant I've been working with since 2005, 2006. And no, I haven't been paying her for the last 8 years, but I know she's someone when I need something done I can call on. And at any point in time, I could have 3 or 4 virtual assistants, because they have a skill set that I need. And then I may have my overall VA who does everything else for me, and then I may have the one to do the editing, and then the one to do the research for me. So I pay for those skills. So that's what I'm saying. The cost can fluctuate, and it's based on really what you need and based on your budget. I've paid as less as $12 an hour for a virtual assistant, but that was the startup VA. So I understood her skill set from the beginning and didn't require, to do a whole lot of things for me. Not that she didn't have the skills to do more, but I was like, I want her to focus on the admin side, because I know that she can knock that out, and I'm paying her hourly at a decent rate, so that I felt good about giving her tasks. Now the person I have doing research for me, those are longer tasks, and because I need them done in depth, I will pay a little bit more for that. So the cost can vary, so you really have to think about what you want. Do you have any other questions?
So and I'm scrolling through, there's a couple of them coming in.
Okay.
So one of them is asking about references.
Yes.
And similar to that, someone is asking, okay, so if you're a matchmaker helping match a VA to them, what do you charge for that?
Okay. Well, matching the VA, I don't see it. Okay. I'm sorry, I didn't think I was going to be talking about prices for me, but it's just a flat rate. And it just goes for, introductory, we're just starting to work together, we're looking for a VA, then it's $50. I don't, because yes, I'm in the business of making money, but I also believe in the relationship. So I will work with you until we find the VA that fits your flow. And whatever you need me to do to help you find that VA, then I'm willing to do that.
Okay, so
but then again,
for $50 you help them find a VA.
Yes.
Okay, and then do the VAs offer references?
Yes. All you have to do is say, hey, do you have 2 or 3 references? And either they do or they don't. So it's just that most VAs I know have references, and they expect you to ask for their references. So it's not a weird question or anything like that. They expect for you to ask for their references.
Okay. And then the other question I've got is, what kinds of tasks do you ask the VAs to do?
I've asked for editing, like I mentioned before, on a couple of blog posts. I've had a VA answer my phones, keep up with my bills, you know, through PayPal, and keep a spreadsheet to set up my calendar so I can get a reminder that, hey, I need to pay something or something is about to be debited from my account. Take meetings for me. Um, Set up my emails like MailChimp, you know, autoresponders. If someone has a question, then they can answer that question, so they have access to one of my inboxes and they can respond to that. And so they can handle my emails. They can do my posting to Facebook or Twitter or wherever I need social media, you know, to display information. They do that for me. And like I say, you know, you can have one design your website or maintain it. Anything that you can think of that you don't like doing, there's a virtual assistant who loves doing it. So if in your business life you don't like responding to emails, there's a virtual assistant out there that doesn't mind responding to the emails for you. They can set up conferences, you know, set up like Kathy has, you know, they can set up your meetings and things like that, your PowerPoint. They can do admin work, whatever you can think of. There's a VA out there that can handle it for you.
Okay, awesome. And then I've had like several variations of the same question.
Okay.
Basically, it's around the trust issue. So how do you know you can really trust someone and give them access to some of these things you're talking about?
Oh, you have to, if trust is your concern, then you have to go at your own pace, you know, but, you know, let the VA know, hey, you know, this is my first time working with the virtual assistant, you know, let me start off really small. I can give you access to the info side of my inbox and you can respond to those messages. You know, start off small. If trust is a big factor for you, then start off small. I don't think it was ever an issue for me. It was, you know, when I hired the general person to do all my admin stuff, it was, I thought of it as, I don't know what she could break. You know, I didn't give her access to my bank accounts or anything like that, but you know, sending an email, you can always say, oops, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to say that. So, I mean, it can be damaging, not to make light of it, but you just have to, you have to go with your gut. And that's the only way I think you can overcome the trust, is to go with your gut. If something doesn't feel right, then it probably isn't right. And then, you know, start off with small tasks. If you don't want them in your email, then once you get an email, just forward it to them and be like, okay, can you respond to this email for me? And this is the date I'm available, or something to that effect, so that you can build that trust with them. Because, excuse me, inevitably they should have your business and what you're doing at heart and in mind when they're working on your task. And you can generally tell if someone is interested in the business that you are, because you want a VA to be interested in whatever area of expertise you're in, because then they will do well for you. Like if you're in marketing, then you might want to find a VA who has worked with marketers before in that area, because then they will have a certain skill set, knowledge of the language that's used in the industry, and things like that. So try to find a VA that can talk intelligently about what it is, your industry, and what it is they can help you with.
Okay. Good. And then another question just came in. Who owns copyrighted content? So if they're doing writing for you, that kind of thing.
You would own it, because that person is, you're hiring them to write for you. Then once you pay them, then it becomes yours. If you don't pay them, then it's probably still theirs. But that's why you definitely want to have a contract, especially when someone is writing for you, because you can still give them, you own it. You own it because you purchased it. You hired them to do it for you. Yes, you still own it.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you. I think you have done a great job of answering what I'm seeing here. So I want to invite everyone who's out there, whatever other questions you have. And Selethia, I think you have a few more slides to cover in the last few minutes as well.
Yep, I can help. It's just a little bit more about virtual assistant hookup. Just basically help you with anything you need as far as virtual assistance goes, project management or matchmaking. I don't, and I'll put it out front, I don't do the VA work unless I really, really have to, and that's why I know virtual assistants who can do the work, and that's why I'm able to do project management or matchmaking with that. And so that's a little bit about the virtual assistant hookup, and it's also going to help you to let some of it go, because like I said in the very beginning, you want to do why you created your business. That's what you want to do. You don't want to have to worry about all that back-end office stuff, unless that's why you created your business. But if you created a coaching business because you wanted to talk to people, you don't want to be worried about the paperwork in the background. Hire a virtual assistant to handle that for you. And there's no problem with signing confidentiality agreements. You know, so that's another document that VAs could either have on their contract or have as a separate document, the confidentiality.
Okay.
I think
Awesome.
you did that.
Way to go. And great timing on this. Another question did come in, and this is probably a great example. They said, how do you control productivity? They've hired someone who charged 12 hours for the work somebody different charged 4 hours to do.
The person who probably did the 12 hours, that might not have been their strength. Whereas the person who charged 4 hours, that is something that they're really good at doing, and they know how to get from A to E quickly. The person who charges 12 hours may be struggling a little bit. So they may be asking a lot of questions. And they may not tell you that's not their strong area. But you'll probably pick up on that. And the only way that I can think of that you can control it is you have that turnaround time. And if you've done the task before, then you can say, okay, well, I've set up an email autoresponder. It probably took 2 hours. If that VA says, oh, it's going to take me 4 hours, then that might not be the VA for you. So if you're giving tasks to a VA that you've done before, that you've completed before, that would give you, and especially if this isn't your area of expertise and it only took you 2 hours, and you go into a VA who should know how to set up an autoresponder and they're taking 4 hours, then that might not be the VA you want to choose. You might want to choose a VA who is going to do your time or less. So pay attention to the tasks that you do daily and see how long it's taking you to get get it accomplished. And then you'll want to gauge that as to, okay, well, when you're talking to a VA, okay, well, it takes me 4 hours to do it, so it should take you about 2. They may say 3. So, it just gives you a good gauge on how to handle the productivity of your virtual assistant.
Okay, awesome. And I do realize we are at time, so just one more quick question for you.
Okay.
When you help people find a VA and do the matching, do you help with the contracts?
I can. Yes. Yes,
Okay.
definitely.
Okay.
Definitely. Yes.
Excellent. Excellent. So thank you very much for that. I do want to say to everyone on the call, thank you for being here. Definitely appreciate Selethia and her time. So we want to thank her, appreciate that. We will have this available for you on our YouTube channel. So if you want to go there and see it again, I'll email all of you links. You all saw the information for Selethia and her website, so you can feel free to reach out to her directly and get your assistance. So thank you, everyone, and have a great day. And with that, oh, and by the way, Selethia, to share with you, getting lots of thank yous in the question panel.
Oh, thank you
Appreciating
so
you taking the
much.
time and sharing the information with you. And with
Oh,
that, I'll
thank
go
you.
ahead and close this out. So thank you, everyone.
Thank you.